Have you ever really, truly stopped to think about where your time goes? Not just what you did today, but where all the hours of an entire year actually disappear? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down the math of our lives. And in doing so, we might just uncover a pretty profound answer to what this whole thing is for. All right, let's get into it.
Here it is, 8,760. That's it. That's the number of hours we all get in a single year. And yeah, it sounds like a lot, right? But as you're about to see, it gets spent way faster than you'd think.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Look at how that time is split. That massive chunk, over 6,000 hours, that's what we'll call maintenance. This is just the time it takes to keep our biological machines up and running. And that little sliver, that's what's left over. Those are our free hours, the time we actually get to, live.
So what exactly is on this huge maintenance to-do list that eats up so much of our year? Let's take a closer look at the body's non-negotiable appointments.
Okay, this breakdown is kind of wild when you see it laid out. Sleeping. That alone gobbles up almost 3,000 hours. If you've got a full-time job, boom, there's another 2,000 hours gone. Then you start adding in all the other stuff. Over 500 hours just for eating, another 300 plus for personal hygiene, a couple hundred for shopping, and these aren't optional luxuries. This is just the basic cost of being alive.
So here's the big takeaway. When you add it all up, it turns out we spend about 2/3 of our entire existence simply on biological upkeep. It's all the work we have to do just to keep the lights on before we can do anything else.
Which, of course, brings us to that precious final third of our time. If most of our hours are already spoken for, what are these remaining hours for? Let's dive into what actually gives those hours meaning.
So, the idea here is that our living time is best spent on 3 pillars that all support each other. It all starts with nurturing our relationships. That gives us a sense of connection, a real foundation. And that foundation then gives us the stability for self-improvement, which helps us grow. And both of those things are balanced by enjoying leisure, which is just about recharging and enjoying the life and connections we've built.
And, out of all our relationships, there's one that stands out as the most foundational: family. It's our first classroom, it's where we learn our values, it's our source of security, it's really the bedrock of our identity. It just shapes who we become in a way that nothing else can. And when you start thinking about that, about this chain of family passing down values and lessons from one generation to the next, it's like a current flowing through time. It almost forces you to zoom way, way out and ask a much bigger question about the chain of life itself.
I mean, if our personal life journey starts with family, where does life itself start? What's the ultimate source of this entire experience we're all a part of?
To even begin to answer that, we have to zoom out from our own personal calendars to the timescale of evolution itself. We've got to trace the origins of all life on this planet.
Now, in science, this search leads us to a fascinating concept called LUCA. It stands for the last universal common ancestor. Now, LUCA isn't the first spark of life, but it is the most recent common ancestor that connects you, me, every animal, every tree, every little microbe on this planet. It's the organism at the very base of our massive shared family tree. And this is where we're asked to look at this idea of an origin point through 2 different lenses. So on one hand, you have the scientific lens, LUCA, a biological organism, but on the other, there's a more philosophical or metaphysical lens, which suggests that the source is the universe itself, some kind of cosmic consciousness that we're all a part of, here to experience and learn. Okay, stick with me, because this is where everything we've talked about, from our daily schedules to our cosmic origins, just snaps into focus and points toward one single, really powerful conclusion. See, whether you believe our ultimate ancestor is a microbe or the entire cosmos, the actual mechanism for passing life forward in our day-to-day human experience is family. It's within our families that we are taught not just how to survive, but how to live, and maybe most importantly, how to love.
And in this context, love means so much more than just a romantic feeling. It's framed as a fundamental biological need. It's this whole spectrum of powerful emotions, and it's expressed through selfless actions. And ultimately, it's the very thing that acts as the catalyst for our own personal growth.
And here it is. This is the punchline. This is what it's all been building to. Love isn't just one item on a checklist for having a happy life. The argument is that it's the overarching reason for the entire cycle. It's what we get, it's what we learn, and it's what we're fundamentally driven to pass on. It creates this continuous chain of meaning across generations.
So,
we end right back where we began, with those few thousand precious hours we get to call our own. If the whole point of all our biological maintenance is to carve out a little space for living, and the point of living is to experience, share, and pass on love, it leaves us with one final, really important question. How will you spend the time you've been given?